welcome back to Jay vs. Horror. I'm your host, Jay Wall. Guys, it's Monday. That means one thing around here. It is time for 5 awesome horror films you can watch for free. We are going to give you the movies. We're going to talk about them a little bit, show you the trailer, and we're going to put the links for all these films down in the description for this video. So if you hear about a film or see a trailer for a film and you think, man, I might like that one, cruise down to the description, click on the link, boom, you're there. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. At number 5, I have 2014's Cub. Originally titled Whelp, it's a Belgian horror film and the feature directorial debut of filmmaker Jonas Govaerts. The film stars Maurice Lucien as Sam, a young boy that goes on a camping trip with his fellow Cub Scouts, only to run afoul of a bloodthirsty poacher. As the film starts, we see our lead character Sam as a 12-year-old Cub Scout that is frequently bullied by his fellow Scouts and even his pack leader Peter. Fellow pack leader Chris and Chef Jasmine try their best to curb this bullying, but they're usually pretty unsuccessful with that. A series of events cause the pack to lose their way during a mountain camping trip. Peter and Chris, the pack leaders, try to keep things light by telling the campers a campfire story about a boy named Kai, a werewolf thought to be living in that very forest. Soon after, Sam runs into a feral boy that he believes might actually be this character of Kai they're talking about. He tries to tell the others, but he gets ridiculed for actually believing in the stories that he's been told, and even Chris chalks it up to Sam's overactive imagination. However, what they are unaware of is that Kai is the son of a nameless poacher who is not amused by people entering his territory, and it isn't long before the entire troop becomes victims of the poacher's elaborate and deadly traps. Now guys, Cub is a pretty good horror film, but it's also a very good character study in my opinion. It's kind of a beautiful film in certain ways. It's interesting that the way these people treat Sam is what actually causes him to be the way he is, and what also causes him to identify with this feral boy who he believes is the werewolf Kai. A very interesting story with some pretty good gore scenes, guys. Let's take a look at the underrated 2014 film Cub.
O Heer, de avond is neergekomen. De zonne zonk, het duister klom. De winden doorruisen de bomen. En bij de sterren staan alom. Wij knielen neer om te zingen. In slapend woud, ons avondlied. Wij danken u voor wat we ontvingen. En vragen, Heer, verlaat ons niet.
Zoals een nergens hier en leven. De stilte klinkt onze Heer. Luister, luister, kruiden mee. We staan op tenen. Onze Heer. Zingen en lusten.
At number 4, They Look Like People. It's a 2015 independent psychological horror film shot, edited, written, produced, and directed by Perry Blackshear. It stars McLeod Andrews as a man who believes humanity is being secretly taken over by evil creatures. Guys, it's kind of hard to explain what this film's about. It's really about a friendship between two guys, Christian and Wyatt. Christian is just a good friend trying to help out his buddy, and Wyatt is unfortunately a paranoid schizophrenic. After an excursion one night with some other friends, Wyatt receives a phone call telling him he must save himself before everyone in the city turns into a demonic being. As the story moves along, Wyatt's delusions become more and more vivid, and he even starts to believe that he is seeing people change before his very eyes. Now, this is a slow burn film, and guys, it doesn't have a lot of horror in it as far as gore or killing or anything like that, just some interesting visuals from Wyatt's delusions. But I will tell you this, it's an hour and 19 minutes, and if you stick with it to the end, this film has one of the best endings of all time. It is super, super intense. I mean, honestly, it's one of the most nail biting scenes I've ever watched in a film. So, guys, with that being said, I'm putting that warning out there. It's not going to be for everyone. It is very slow, but if you like psychological horror, you will love this one. Let's take a look at the trailer for They Look Like People.
You are a mountain. You are 100 miles high. All that your enemies place in your way, betrayal, lies, poison, you devour and become stronger. You are invincible. Those that try to hurt you will turn silent and will bow down. But what can people do to hurt a mountain?
At number 3, The Edge. It's a 1997 American survival film directed by Lee Tamahori and starring Anthony Hopkins, Alec Baldwin, and one of my favorite underrated actors, Harold Perrineau. The plot follows wealthy businessman Charles Morse, played by Anthony Hopkins, photographer Bob Green, played by Alec Baldwin, and assistant Stephen, played by Harold Perrineau, who must trek through the elements and try to survive after their plane crashes down in the Alaskan wilderness, all while being threatened by a large Kodiak bear. Also, another great performance here, I'm going to mention this one, from Bart the Bear, a trained Kodiak bear who's known for several appearances in Hollywood movies. There was about a 2-decade period there where if you needed a bear for a movie, Bart was your guy. And I just found it completely amazing that he is so well trained, because in the film he is absolutely vicious and terrifying. Guys, I like this movie a lot. I know some people are going to say it's not a horror film, but it is an animal attack film, and it is a survival film. I think it has all the elements. There's 3 elements in this film, I think, that work towards it being a horror film. Now, early on, we see that, of course, Charles, played by Anthony Hopkins, is much older, and he's married to a younger woman named Mickey, played by the beautiful Elle Macpherson. And then we see there's a little bit of jealousy here because Bob, the photographer, played by Alec Baldwin, seems to be, infatuated with Charles's wife. We also see that Charles is very smart. That's how he's made his money. Charles is kind of a loner. He likes to read a lot. And so some of the knowledge he comes across and puts forth to other people seems a little useless to them. So they're all up at this cabin in Alaska because Bob is a photographer and he's there to shoot Mickey, who is a fashion model. So we get some implication here that maybe Bob and Mickey have an inappropriate relationship. Things take a turn when they find a photo of a local Alaskan man and Bob wants to photograph him. So they take a plane and they fly to where the guy lives. Here they kind of challenge each other to expand on the adventure they're having. So they take the plane and they fly further north to find this guy. Now while they're in the air, Charles makes a comment to Bob, "How are you planning to kill me?" And right at that moment, the plane starts to shake and rattle, and it eventually goes down. That's where the film gets interesting. These 3 guys find themselves in the Alaskan wild, stranded, it's cold, they're wet, and before long, nightfall comes, and they are visited by our friend Bart. This is a great film, guys. A very underrated gem from the 90s, in my opinion. We have 3 elements here, as I said before, that work together to make this a horror film, in my opinion. One is just the isolation and the survival aspect of this. I mean, just being left alone in the wild when you're not used to that is pretty harrowing, right? The second element, I think, would be the bear, which is just completely vicious. This bear will scare the hell out of you, right? This is probably my second favorite bear attack film right after Backcountry, which terrifies the hell out of me. Now, the third element would be this little subplot that's going on between Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins' character, which is interesting because you don't know if these guys are going to try to take each other out. But all in all, they end up having to work together to get out of this situation, and it turns out that Charles, the older guy, is probably the alpha male in this situation because the knowledge that he has from reading books about wilderness survival is really the only weapon that anyone has in this situation. One of my favorite lines of all time is in this film. It comes at a point where the men realize they're not going to be able to keep subduing this bear from attacking them, and they have to come up with a plan. And Alec Baldwin's character of Bob looks at Anthony Hopkins' character of Charles and says, "So what are we going to do, Charles?" And Anthony Hopkins says, "We're going to kill the motherfucker." And that's my best Anthony Hopkins, guys. And I can only really do Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal. Now, I talked about this one for a long time, guys, and that's because it's got a extensive setup, and there's a lot I love about this film. But let's move on. Let's take a look at the trailer for 1997's The Edge.
Okay, check it, please.
A photographer with an eye for beauty.
Okay, great. Let's do one more.
Nice-looking lady. Your wife?
Yes. Why'd you ask?
A man of wealth who lives through books.
Charles knows everything. Got a question, ask him.
I seem to retain all these facts, but putting them to any useful purpose is another matter.
Each the essence of the civilized man.
Well, Charles, we're going on an impromptu adventure. You come too. All that money, never knowing what people value you for. And I think your wife's pretty cute too.
So, how are you planning to kill me?
But when civilization disappears...
Why do we even think they'll come looking for us? Our friend's a billionaire. You know what happens when you misplace one?
all they have is each other to rely on.
Most people lost in the wilds the die of shame because they didn't do the one thing which would have saved their lives. Thinking.
Their will to survive. And the question...
Why would I want to kill you, Charles? Why would I want to do that?
For my wife.
Of where the greatest danger lies.
Take it easy, Charles. It's okay. You got it, Charles. Come on. Just keep coming. Charles, come on.
You saved my life.
Well, I couldn't kill you with Stephen around. I'd have to kill him, too, and he's the only one that knows how I like my coffee. What are we gonna do, Charles?
What, am I supposed to have a plan?
Rich man. All anybody wants, take something from you when they want it bad enough to kill you.
You and my wife? I've seen you with her.
20th Century Fox presents Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins.
You want to die out here, huh?
Alec Baldwin.
Moneyed folk. Sit up there, drinks and golf, but get you in an emergency.
Right.
And you bloom. You make me sick.
I'm sure I do.
Somewhere between the law of the wild and the nature of man lies the edge.
I'm not gonna die. Today, I'm gonna kill the mother.
At number 2, I have a little film from 2020 titled simply Nicole. Now, guys, I could not find hardly any information about this film to give you other than just what I know from seeing the film. This was a late night watch for me. I was just sitting here unwinding, playing some NBA 2K21, and I put the movie on to kind of have something in the background to listen to. And what happened was I eventually turned off the game and completely turned my attention to the film. Now, it's not for everyone. I struggled about whether I even wanted to talk about this one because I don't feel like a high percentage of you are going to love this film, but I did. I liked it a lot. And the reason why is because of the characters, especially the character of Nicole. This is a woman who is on the edge. She is a severe alcoholic. I mean, she gets up in the morning and drinks a huge glass of Kettle One vodka and continues to drink throughout her entire day, even at work. So right off the bat, we know that there's something not quite right about Nicole. She seems like she's just emotionally unstable, though, at first. But as the movie progresses, we find out more and more about her character and why she is the way she is. We see that most of her colleagues don't seem to like her very much, and that she is almost completely ostracized from normal society. She does try to reach out, though. She joins a dating app and tries to meet someone. Unfortunately, the first date she gets is with a cop who is a scumbag and a date rapist. Throughout this date we see that he tries to drug her, and when that does not succeed, he tries to manipulate his way into her home to rape her. This is the point where we find out what's really wrong with Nicole, and it's hard to fault her after seeing everything that's happened to her. You know, guys, there are some characters in films that are supposed to be villains, I guess, but you really just feel sorry for them, similar to like May from 2002's May. Characters where you just want to give them a big hug and tell them everything's going to be alright, and that, yes, somebody does understand what's wrong. This film has a very bittersweet ending, and like I said, guys, I know this one's not for everyone. And if you go into this and you come out of it and you say, Jay, what the hell were you thinking for recommending this? I won't be upset about that at all. But if you like my taste in movies, if I've steered you right in the past, I would say check this one out. It's definitely worth a watch. Let's take a look at the trailer for 2020's Nicole.
Don't be getting into any trouble tonight now.
I have a date. Technically, it's our first date.
We went out, had a good time. Miss me? Had drinks that I bought. We come back to your place.
Nicole, you all right?
What do you do for fun? Is this turning you on? Baby.
Maybe this is turning me on.
At number 1 this week, guys, we have a freaky little film called Beyond the Black Rainbow. It's a 2010 Canadian science fiction horror film written and directed by Panos Cosmatos, who you might remember directed Nicolas Cage in Mandy. This was his feature film debut. It stars Michael Rogers and Eva Allen. Guys, this one is extremely hard to explain. It's a lot similar to Mandy, where it's set in the 80s, but it seems to be a completely different existence or dimension or some other kind of dark reality. Basically, we have a drug-addled, psychotic, violent, mad scientist who's obsessed with a young girl who has extreme psychic abilities. The first part of the story is spent exploring the background of this crazed scientist named Niall and this young girl named Elena and how they tie together. While the second part of the film is basically about her trying to escape this nightmare she's living in. This is one of those films, guys, where you may have to watch it 2 or 3 times to fully understand everything that's going on, to really get what's happening, because the visuals are so overpowering that sometimes you find yourself in awe of the imagery that's on screen and realize that you're not truly paying attention to the narrative like you should be. So yes, it's another one of those films where it's not for everyone, guys, but if you enjoyed Mandy, if you enjoy weird, trippy stuff, I think you're going to like this one a lot. Let's take a look at the trailer for Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Hello. My name is Dr. Mercurio Arboria, and I am the founder of the Arboria Institute. Through our unique blend of benign pharmacology, sensory therapy, and energy sculpting, we can guide you to a new, better, happier you.
Hello, Lana. How are you feeling? You look tired today. Have you had any headaches? And you don't know who you are or what you are?
to embark on a great journey. Let the new age of enlightenment begin.
Very good. It's very, very good. You know, this is always the highlight of my day.
All right, horror fans, that's all we've got for this week. Now, guys, I know we had a rough first week to 2021, and that's not what anyone wanted or expected, hopefully. What you have to remember, guys, is when you see crazy people doing crazy stuff, that's just a small section of society. That's not all of us. We don't have to hate each other over what a small group of people have decided to do. That being said, I decided to try to choose some fun and interesting movies for you guys to check out this week if you want to unwind, relax, and just forget about what's going on out there in the world. It gets dark, it gets cold, and it gets lonely even when you're not by yourself in times like this. But remember this, Jay loves you, and so does horror. And guys, we will talk to you the next time we've got something worth talking about. Bye.